From you guys, I'll answer any question. If you got a question along the way, put it on the website. Just remember, on the question you ask, everybody can see that question, everybody's gonna get that answer. So say you got a great idea, say, hey, I wanna try this, is this legal? And if I say yes, then this school, Havel, and Bemis has it. Well, Bemis is junior high, you're not gonna worry about that. But everybody will have that same answer. But again, if it's not, if it says here that you cannot do it on this piece of paper, that's the only rule. If it's open where it says, well, I read it as this, come ask me in private before, can I do this? I'll say, yeah, it's not in the rules. If it's not there, you can do it. I love seeing great ideas. Great ideas from the kids are awesome. Did I go over it? If you do the balloon extraction, if it's a success, the only way I'll test the balloon, I'll cut it open, I'll take a good whiff of it, and I'll talk. And if I squeak, it's an illegal launch. If it's normal air, because everybody says, yeah, it's normal air. Everybody says, oh, helium helps you. Helium doesn't do anything, but because when it's over before it started, it doesn't help you a lot because it's going to be going at the same speed. So, but if you do the balloons, that's the only way we'll check it, and we'll need to see the rocket afterwards. Okay. Any questions?
It's been awesome information, but how are they launched? How do we practice launching?
Usually I bring a launcher. I had some surgery done just before Christmas, and I'm not carrying anything. And we have a cabinet launcher. It's 2 cabinet launchers, one on each scuba tank in the middle. All they do is push them up, depressurize. Your schools you're coming from should have a launcher. If they don't, check out the websites. You build them for under $5. But the biggest thing is you'll have to go get some tire plugs from Discount Tire, Bell Tire, wherever. Tell me you want the longest one possible that you can put in this bottle. They make them. I want to see their truck tire. I can't remember the number of them. They'll give them to you. They won't tell them what you're using it for. They won't charge you for them. And they're good that way. You're going to worry about the rocket being crooked on the launch pad. It can be like that. It doesn't matter. Because once you get to about 15, 20 pounds, it's going to go to 90 degrees no matter what, unless it's in there wrong. Anything else? Yep.
You have the workshop schedule.
I'm not sure what day the workshop is, but there is going to be a workshop. I want to say it's in MISD, the 19th of this month?
February.
February, okay. So the 18th of February, we're going to be at the MISD building. I believe that's off Garfield. I'm not sure. And there's going to be me, another couple people there that have a pretty good grasp of it, that if you have any questions, I believe you can bring your kids to that. I believe you can actually
there's a sign on the door out here.
see, I don't read that. But we'll do our best to help you with any questions. A lot of times, the people that have done this in the past, they won't come to any of the events. They won't come to any of the practices because they don't want to show you their ideas. They might come with their kids just to watch you guys to see what you got, try to steal an idea of yours, but they're not going to give up their ideas. Each district has a mini competition, I believe. I know for a fact I will not be doing the first one. I want to say that's in February, and we will not be doing that one. I won't go out in that weather. But we will post a day that we're going to be at this place from this time to get some practices in on the launcher. Just like I told the other class, if somebody puts it out there, hey, are you available this day? I'll be totally honest with you. I'm about 5 minutes from here. I'm about 10 minutes from Ford. Ford is our home school. And I like to stay with my area. So when we run a practice, it's going to be out this way. So, but if somebody puts it out there, hey, okay, any chance you can have a practice Saturday from 4 to 6 at night, I'll consider it. And honestly, as long as my daughter isn't playing ball, and during high school season, this is all during high school season, it's nice because they only play so many weekend tournaments. 90% of the time she's free. So I'll say, yeah, I'm not doing anything. I'll go out there and I'll post it on there and say, hey, I'll be here from this time. And I don't have a problem with it. As long as I'm not busy, I'm pretty flexible. And when I do run a practice, I'm very laid back. People say, oh, they shouldn't be talking to their kids. Help them all you want in practice. Just the day of the competition, I'm a little more strict. Just like your day of your little mini tournaments, Like I'd want to say the Utica one isn't really a tournament. It is a practice. But the other two are actual tournaments. I usually let the parents help a little more than I do at the tournament. The main tournament's my goal. It's to run that nice. But the practice ones, I look at practice. So, but hey, the more practice we can get the kids, the better. That's my opinion. Now, have a good time with this. I can only tell you from my past. I remember when I was that first timer, saying, oh, what am I going to do? It's a blast. It really is. The kids are brilliant today. I can't get over how smart they are. Who else would give up their weekends to go do this? Seriously. All right, again, no more questions? Thank you very much for doing this for the kids, and we'll see you for that reason. When I first started, we saw the same rocket 3 straight years. That's when we started changing the heights. They got to be made of 2-liter bottles. Every year we see a 1-liter show up, a 3-liter show up. It must be a 2-liter bottle. Doesn't matter. I prefer not like a Country Time lemonade. I prefer it's something that's carbonated. A carbonated bottle holds more pressure than a non-carbonated bottle. Fins and parachutes can be used to help the rocket stay straight, to separate and stay aloft. The bottom of the fins can't come to a complete sharpness. I don't ask for a lot of radius on there, as long as it's not sharp. I don't care if it comes this way, that way, just so it doesn't come to a point. Things that are not allowed are commercially made rocket parts. That means when I say that, you can buy fabric from a hobby shop. It just can't be a complete parachute. So say you show up to the competition, and I can see that the strings are attached beautifully, and the metal's completely just stamped in there. 99% of us don't have the equipment to stamp that in. So if it's an eyelet that's just perfect, like they bought it, we're not going to allow it. But if they buy the fabric, cut the hole, put something around it to make it to withstand the pressure of coming down, that's fine with me. I just don't want to see something bought where, hey, we're just going to buy a parachute, kids aren't going to learn anything from it. Sharp pointed objects anywhere. Nose cone can't be sharp, fins can't be sharp, nothing can come to a sharp point. The reason for that is when your rocket does fail and it comes straight down, if it's pointed, they'll probably cut you pretty well. That's the reason they're going to cut you anyways. Because if you haven't done this before, you're going to be amazed when they don't open how fast they come down. Only metal you can use. Only metal you can use from it is snap swivels. Does everybody know what a snap swivel is? It's a little fishing thing. You go to Target, Myers, any sports store. Snap swivel will be in your fishing section. All it is, it's a clip with a round ball above it. And that way it swivels, and you can change things. You can change parachutes. Josie's parachute, put it on Jimmy's rocket. Real quick, fast, simple. It says you can use glass and metal. When I'm sure what they mean by glass is fiberglass, anything. If you use real glass, it's going to probably shatter, because you're going to probably go through a couple rockets before you get to the rocket you really like. On the main compression vessel. On the compression vessel itself, you're going to have the pressure vessel, and then you're going to have the extensions and your fins. You can't use hot glue, any of the super glues, or any of their chemicals. Cyanitrate, I believe it is, I'm not sure. But what that'll do is weaken the integrity of the bottle. It might not hold the 75 pounds pressure. We've seen a couple bottles blow up. Interesting, loud. Kids love it, but it is kind of scary for the first couple seconds after it does blow up.
Ears are ringing and stuff. It's pretty weird.
Height of the bottle, 28 inches. That means from the mouth of the bottle to the tip of the nose cone must be 28 minimum. It can be 6 feet tall. It doesn't matter to me. But at minimum is 28 inches. From that, from the mouth of the bottle? Right, from the mouth. All we're going to do is stand it up on the table, and there will be a gauge at 28 inches. It's got to touch it. If we slide it under, and it just nicks that, it's fine. If it's about a half-inch short, I'll let them first, I'll let them readjust it, to try to get that 28. And if they can't, then I'll make them do some repairs. We'll do that in a minute. Nose cone tip. All we do, it has to be radius, it can't come to a sharp point. We take the cap, I'll have a cap out there where I drill out the center of it. And if you could sign it, it'd be great. And I'm gonna put it on top of the nose cone. If any part of the nose cone sticks up through it, it's no good. But if it goes on there, and I can still see in there, and I see the nose cone rounded under it, it's good. Probably, I don't have much problems with the nose cones. Most everybody radiuses them. And it'll show you exactly when you guys print your rules, how it's gonna look. From the mouth of the bottle, you'll have your mouth opening, and then a curve, and then it'll start going up. We need 2 inches to clear our rocket launcher. So 2 inches, what I like to say is where it curves, that's where the fin can start. A lot of people like the fins to come here and then come down. 90% of those people have to cut their fins before they can launch. Kids will have as much time as they need to fix the rockets. It doesn't bother me. They got all day. I'm there till probably 2 o'clock, but it has to be fixed in our presence. You guys can't help them in any way. Stuff to propel the rocket, that's just plain water. We get it right there from the school. And they have to use our water. If they use, say they use a 16-ounce water bottle and say, hey, we use 16 ounces of water. You can use your measuring gauge all you want, but I gotta make sure it's empty before you come out. Some people like to put soda water where it gives a little more fizz, gives a little more propulsion. But they must use our water. The rocket must stay intact. What I mean by intact, the nose cone will come off. Those of you that do the nose cone method, the nose cone will come off. It has to stay attached to the rocket as it comes down. So the nose cone, the pressure vessel will be hanging underneath the parachute if you use the nose cone method. If you use the flutter effect, the entire rocket will stay together in one piece. But say one part comes down first, your time stops as soon as the first piece hits the ground, tree, rocket, school, building, or we lose sight of it. But say I'm launching my rocket. Piece of tape comes off as soon as we let it go, 0.35 seconds. That's your time, and you get dropped into the lower level because a piece of your rocket came off during flight. So it's sad to say we've seen a rocket, I want to say, go over a minute, but at that 2-second mark, a piece of tape hit the ground. Well, 2 seconds was their time, and they're arguing about, well, it was up there well over a minute, but your piece of tape came off. And the kids understand this, it's the parents that don't. Y'all left, we'll talk about this in a minute. They can put water lines on it as long as it's on like a marker. If they put a scratch in that bottle in any way, that we cannot launch that bottle. Again, how we just talked about how it'll be in one piece, it'll be nose cone hanging. They got to be connected by lanyard, string, whatever you want to use. They got to come down together. Once they hit the ground and parts shatter and explode, that's fine. Okay? As their entire flight is over as soon as the first piece hits the ground. Because if it comes up and comes straight down, the nose cone's gonna hit the ground, fins are gonna fly off, and people say, well, parts came up. No, that was after the flight was over. The biggest problem is just silly little things come off during the updrag.
That's anything, wings, nose cones, just little, some people put little holders on top of the rockets. Those pop off a lot. Once that hits the ground, your time stops and you fall down to the bottom bracket.
And I'm sorry, this is my son Ryan. He's been doing this for a long time. He's my big helper out there, Dick. He runs one of the launchers. I don't get to run the launchers because I'm walking around. The school names need to be on the rockets anywhere, just so it's visible. It's up to you if you want to put your phone numbers. You've had schools lose their rockets because it was a 3-minute flight, flew over a road, and they've actually got a call back to say, hey, we got your rocket here. I want that rocket back. I'm not going to lie. If I got a nice flight time, that rocket's coming back one time after that 3 minutes, and it's getting put away. The kids need to bring their toolkit up to them. Am I going to check every toolkit? No. I'm really not. I like to get the kids in and out, because they got events to go to all day. I'm looking for the paint they use on it. A lot of kids like to paint their whole rocket. A lot of kids like to use, I like to see what glue they use, and so on. Anything we deem illegal, first thing I'll do is come to you, ask for the coach, go over what the problem is, make sure you guys understand we have the time to fix it. The day of the competition, I like to have them open the parachutes, because probably 50% of this room, maybe more, will pack that parachute the night before, put tape on it, and say, hey, don't open that chute unless he makes sure. Because, face it, the kids, a lot of parents, I'm not saying it's you or anything, I was that coach my first year or two. I never had faith enough in them to say, hey, they don't know how to pack. They do. I mean, I learned it took me 3 kids and I finally learned it. But these kids are brilliant today, way smarter than what we were. 2 launches. It doesn't have to be the same rocket. It can be 2 separate rockets. One's going to go off one launcher, one's going to go off the other launcher. And they'll know that ahead of time. Where they're going first, we'll tell them, you're going to get water and go to this launcher. And their timesheet will have launcher 1, launcher 2 on it. They need to bring their safety glasses this year. Safety glasses, goggles. Years past, I bring 8, 9 pairs out there. They are gone within the first hour. People walk away. It's a very exciting thing. It really is. Kids get their thing to open, man. You can't believe how excited they are. You know, they just run and they don't care about anything but getting their rocket back. And where we launch from, I want to stress you guys help them, because if it does cause, I want to say it's Bunnard over there. If it crosses Bunnard, we don't want the kids running across Bunnard. We want the parents going to get the rockets back when it's that far. Our timers do a really good job. I mean, we have 3 timers for each launcher, and a lot of the timers are usually just volunteers from you guys. And I'm fortunate we get probably 90% of our launch timers come back every year. And they do a great job. If the rocket's going that way, they're running it down the seat as long as they possibly can. And they do a nice job. So. Once it's pressurized, we can't let the kids touch it anymore because it's a danger. It's insurance reasons. So once we get 10 pounds, you know, when you guys practice, you'll get 10 pounds, you'll get a little bounce in your rocket. The nose cone's going to move. We'll ask them right there, do you want us to move it in any way? It's their time to tell us yes or no. Then we'll continue to pressure it, and if I'm lucky enough to be on the launcher that day, and I know he does it, he'll say one more time, is that how you want your nose cone? And then we'll move it to how they want it. But remember, the more we touch it, we're not going to be as stressed about how it's fitting on there. All we're going to do is straighten it out and launch. We got the next one to get to. So if you build a nice, successful, sturdy nose cone, that's going to be 90% of your battle. That nose cone, the sturdier it is, then you can work on everything else.
Because there's always wind you got to account for. So if we're sitting there, and at some points I even have to hold the nose cone on because it's a windy day until I press the button and move my hand at the same exact time. Because it has to be a sturdy nose cone for that reason also. Wind can blow right off the top.
And that will happen. We've had people argue about that in the past. Well, you were holding the nose cone. Well, if we don't touch the nose cone, it's a 20-mile-an-hour wind out there. Would you guys rather us just put it up there, have the nose cone fly off, and say launch it? No, it's not fair to the kids. It's only going to get a 2-second flight because it's got all the air resistance. So we do our best to help the kids. When there's a problem with the parents, you come to me, we'll have our discussion. Once it's pressurized, we must launch it. One of our rocket launchers has a dump, one of them don't. So I can get to the 75 pounds in one, and the kids say, no, this isn't right, we can dump it. But on my other launcher, it's not as new. Once we get to that 75-pound mark, we have to launch it. If kids say, hey, this isn't right, we say flat out, we'll call the coach out there and say, this is not going to count. We'll launch it, they'll get it back and go. We had this happen 2 or 3 years ago. We did that, and it was the best launch of the day. The coach went nuts. I go, you agreed that it was not going to count.
Oh.
So, I mean, there's only so much we can do. The scoring is done by the first gasp of air. Those of you never done this before, there's a distinct sound when you first launch it. There's a quick psh, and that continues up. Once you hear that first sound of air, the timer starts until any object touches the ground. Ground meaning tree, building, car, light pole, anything, fence. That's considered ground. But once it touches anything, any non-movable object, time stops. All right, we have 3 timers. We throw away the long, we throw away the short, and we take the middle time. If we run into a point where we only have 2 timers, we take the 2, split it down the middle, and that's your time. Flights of the rocket that stay together is the main top tier. Anything that comes off a rocket goes into the bottom tier. So you'll see some rockets that day that get 4 seconds, and they beat a 30-second flight. That's because a 30-second flight had a piece of tape, wing, something came off. So as long as the kids build a sturdy rocket, if you build a rocket that's going to open nicely, you're never going to have a problem with something coming off. If something comes off, something catastrophic is going to happen.
Yeah, we don't see rockets with things that come off that go for a minute.
Teams that can't get their rocket to meet the rules, it sounds stupid. Every year, this is on the website, every year 3 to 4 rockets show up, they're not tall enough, they're not this, they have this on it. Every year, we have a keychain on them. A keychain is a piece of metal, it's not a snap swivel, it's illegal. They have time to fix it, but some say we don't have time to fix it, we gotta go to the next event. Like, we can launch it, but you will get participation points only. Participation points, I don't know if everybody knows it. First place in Science Olympiad in competition, you get 1 point. 80th place, you get 80 points. At the end of the day, they put out everything on a board. Say Havel Elementary. You got 60 points here, you got 3 points here, and at the end you got a final point total. The lowest point total wins, because that means you did best in most events. So say you launch and it's not going to count, it's going to be whatever the 80th place is. If we got 3 people that can't meet the rules, we got 3 people at 80, 82 points. I know we got more schools this year than ever. Longest time aloft wins. So you got 2 chances. So if one rocket only gets you 20 seconds, and the next rocket gives you 60 seconds, your 60-second launch wins. Same scenario. Say you got a 30-second launch, but something came off, you're already in the bottom bracket. Then you got a 10-second launch. Your 10-second launch is better than the other launch. So you'll be put in accordingly. And I know everybody's saying, oh, 60 seconds. At most, 2 or 3 rockets in both rooms we just had during the whole competition. 2 or 3 rockets will get to that 60-second mark. That's it. Other than that, you're going to see 70% of rockets go up and come right back down. The most important thing, sturdy nose cone. Work on getting that nose cone off at the apex. You get off at the apex, good things happen. By doing that, you change water levels. Document everything you do, make sure the kids understand this much. If we run more water than air in the rocket, it's not going to allow it as much as air is. Say you put 10 ounces of water in, you're going to let all that air build up, but then there's not enough water to propel it high as the other guy. So everything has a result. So try different water levels, try different things. Things I like to go over. Some of you know me, some of you don't. There's 2 things about me. You love me or you hate me. I mean that pretty much. My biggest problem every year, I love the kids. I think the kids do a great job. Kids are brilliant today. I mean, I wish I was a kid today than when I was a kid. I've seen that. They're brilliant. But parents, you guys can't seem to let them kids go yet. And it's hard to say, here it is, go do your best. I know it's hard. My daughter plays travel softball. I've coached her up till she started high school. Now she's a sophomore, and I'm loving it more than ever, just sitting back and watching. But in the same sense, I was that guy that says, with him, I had to say, oh, you can't do that, let me do that. It took me a while, but I learned, and you'll have that same situation here. The day of the competition, I know one of you are going to push me to the ultimate limit. I know it ahead of time. I mean that, I'm pretty good. I love pictures, I love the parents' involvement. Not many, I know the rubber band guy who doesn't even let them come out there. I let the parents, as long as they don't say a word to the kids, I let them come and take pictures of them, filling the station, checking in, going out to the launch. I love that. But what I can't stand is, Jimmy, do this. And I say, Jimmy's dead, you're out. And this year I'm gonna try to get a little more guards because there's a track, and I've always let the people into the track. Last year, as the day progressed, I kicked people completely out. They couldn't even come in. And that's not fair, because I like to, everything we do is at the launch, well, how we start the day, we can't move, say the wind changes drastically, we can't turn the rocket launcher. It's there, it's been set, it has to be that way. I like to have the parent involvement, but every year I will not disqualify a team unless I am pushed to that ultimate limit. How do you explain that to a 10-year-old kid is your rocket can't launch because this guy was a clown? So please don't push me to that limit.